morning, and thank you all very much for being here. Once again, I'm extremely pleased to be standing with my colleagues, Representative Luis Gutierrez, and of course, Representative Zoe Lofgren, who is going to be here a little bit later, to reiterate the urgent need for President Obama to use his power granted under our Constitution and pardon DACA individuals. Our request is very narrow in scope. We are simply asking him to protect these young DACA individuals who have committed no crime and who, through no fault of their own, were brought to the United States with their families in search of a better life. DACA recipients trusted President Obama and came out from the shadows in good faith. They believed that by signing the DACA application, they no longer had to live in fear of deportation to a country that they do not know. Their immigration status under DACA must be protected, and a presidential pardon would do just that. We clearly understand that such a pardon will not grant legal status, and that is not the intent of our request. We are simply asking the President to protect the over 750,000 DACA recipients who are living in fear of immediate deportation because they trusted our government. To have these young individuals terrified that the next administration will rescind their DACA agreement is completely wrong and utterly unconscionable. We have a moral obligation to protect them from living this daily nightmare. In closing, I sincerely want to thank my colleagues who are here today and the many who could not attend this press event for signing our letter to the President in support of a presidential pardon for DACA individuals. We stand together to ensure that DACA individuals are protected from removal, and we will fight any attempt to rescind the DACA agreement, which was signed in good faith by DACA recipients. And now I'd like to introduce one of our very strong leaders on this issue, Congressman Luis Gutierrez.
Thank you. After our first letter to the President, I think all of us were inundated with requests from other Democrats about how they could help amplify the message to protect the dreamers should Donald Trump attempt to deport them and not keep his hands off our dreamers. After decades in this country, young people were educated in our schools, children who have grown up with our children, who know no other country, who have pledged allegiance to our flag. And now we know there are Republicans who want them deported, and their skills and talents taken to some other country. But Democrats in the House have a special bond with dreamers who came forward for DACA. We fought our own president, President Obama, for this initiative, and we fought hard. We appealed to President Obama to do everything he could to put immigrants in a safe place while he was in office and to start with dreamers. I'll never forget when my dear friend Lucille Raval Allard and the frustration and exacerbation she expressed to senior White House officials when they came once again to Congress, and they said to Lucille and all of us in the room at the Hispanic Congressional Caucus why they weren't going to do anything to protect dreamers in 2012. If you know her, you know that Lucille is a very reserved, regal presence in the caucus and in the Congress. And it takes a lot to get her angry, or as I would say in my neighborhood, piss her off. But she made it very clear to everyone in that room that day. And within a couple of weeks, the President announced DACA, and within 2 months, we were signing people up. That's the history of how this got done. And we have a responsibility to stand with dreamers, and we feel the President has a responsibility to stand with us and with dreamers. Our colleagues asked how they could help, and we asked our colleagues to join us in this effort, and they are with us. Look, Let me make clear that this is just one facet of what we're going to try to do to make sure that immigrants, families, dreamers, refugees, asylum seekers, the whole ball of wax are in a safe place as we can put them before Trump takes office. The message is simple. If you come for dreamers, if you come for immigrant families, if you register Muslims, if you put in motion plans to deport millions and try to shut down or eliminate legal immigration, you will have to go through House Democrats, and we are standing together. We will use every peaceful, legal, moral means, and we will not be alone because people of faith, people of good conscience, people with whom we have stood in diverse communities will stand with us. Quiero decir unas oraciones pequeñas, breves en español. Nosotros estamos aquí unidos en defensa de nuestros soñadores. Nosotros le demandamos al presidente Barack Obama que los pusiera en un sitio de protección. No fue fácil. Tuvimos que demandar, luchar y pelear en contra de nuestro propio presidente. Y ahora le estamos diciendo a ese presidente, proteja más de 700,000 soñadores jóvenes que están estudiando, que se inscribieron con el gobierno. Donald Trump, cuando es presidente, va a saber dónde viven, dónde estudian, quiénes son sus familiares. Y nosotros queremos que el presidente utilice su poder de perdón y le perdone cualquier violación de las leyes de inmigración que ellos tienen, para que de esa manera estén en un sitio seguro. Nosotros vamos a luchar por ello y la demostración del apoyo que tenemos aquí es amplio. So that's what we're here, and we wanted to make sure that we responded, and I want to thank everybody that signed the letter that we put out. And I know that there's my staff is very good, and they make sure that we're all here. So now our leader, she's the ranking on judiciary, and she's been in that position now for nearly 20 years, and she helps guide us. So Zoe Lofgren, I'm so happy she has time to be with us. Come on, Zoe, come on up.
Well, thank you, Luis, and thanks to all my colleagues who've stood up to ask the president to use his authority to issue pardons to the Dreamers. The Dreamers are just one of a large group of meritorious people who deserve relief and who were denied relief by the Republicans over many years in the form of immigration reform. But these young people, they stepped forward when President Obama announced DACA. They took a risk. They gave their names, they gave their addresses, they gave their fingerprints. They trusted the president, and they received temporary relief. Now, we don't know what incoming President Donald Trump will do, but I take him at his word right now, and he says he's going to repeal all of the executive orders and put these young people who trusted Obama at risk. We're asking the president to take a risk and to issue his pardon authority. We know there's ample authority for use of the pardons in groups. In fact, the first day that Jimmy Carter was in office, he gave a pardon to everybody who left the United States to avoid the draft. Thomas Jefferson gave a pardon to everybody who either had or was facing prosecution under the Sedition Act because he didn't agree with it, thought it violated the First Amendment. So there's ample precedent for giving pardons for policy reasons. The Constitution itself mentions offenses, not crimes. And if you go back to the origin of pardon authority to the King of England, pardons were granted for civil offenses as well as criminal offenses. We know that there's no case law on the idea of giving a prospective pardon for a civil offense. But these kids took a risk, and we asked President Obama to take a risk as well. They deserve everything we can do to keep them safe from deportation, and I'm so pleased and honored to be with my colleagues who see it the same way. Thank you so much.
Congressman Judy Chu, please.
President Obama, we're here to tell you that time is running out. On behalf of the more than 700,000 young people who trusted their government to protect them, we are calling on you to take action today to live up to that promise. Never before has an incoming president threatened such a large segment of our population with deportation. But you have the ability to act legally and irreversibly in their defense. A mass pardon of this nature has precedent in our history. And while the motion would not grant legal status, forgiving the crime of many of these dreamers who were too young to know they were committing any kind of violation can help the way for them to apply for legal status. The alternative is a moral and economic catastrophe. These immigrants have lived their lives here, grown up here, attended school here, and have deep roots here. Uprooting them now deprives them not only of their future, but this country of their contributions. Deporting non-criminal immigrants who are working to get an education and who are contributing to our economy is immoral and is wrong. But this is what will happen unless you act. I encourage you to look at this action and other actions such as an executive order to keep all private DACA information private. You must act quickly before the fate of hundreds of thousands of immigrants are determined and rest in the hand of a deporter-in-chief.
Congressman Quigley from Illinois.
Thank you. When DACA was put in place, many of us, and I know in the Chicagoland area, Luis Gutierrez, Jan Schakowsky, and I held several seminars for the Dreamers, right? And we asked them to attend, and we encouraged them to trust their government. And if you were at these seminars, you saw that concern. This is a generation that's rightfully distrustful of because of what's taken place to them so far in their lives. But you saw something in their eyes, this glimmer of hope that the promise of America was going to come true. How extraordinarily awful it would be for our country to take that spark away once it was offered. That's not the kind of country we are. We simply can't allow this to happen. So while this may seem like an extreme thought to some people, the opposite is far worse. For Jan and Luis, and I think everybody here who held those seminars, it would be a bad dream. For the Dreamers, it would be a nightmare. Thank you.
And now, Mr. Juan Vargas from California.
Thank you. What we're doing here today is we're simply requesting that the President to use his constitutional authority under Article 2, the Article 2, Section 2, which states, he shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States. So he has the power to do that. And we're asking him to have some courage to step forward. And also, I have to say, this is a holiday season, as we all know. And for those of us in the Christian faith, we follow the Christmas tradition. And the Christmas tradition is interesting because everyone remembers the birth of Jesus. But they oftentimes forget is that after Jesus was born, an angel came and said, take Jesus away. Take him to Egypt because Herod wants to kill him. So that angel then became the protector. And we're asking President Obama to be like that angel, to save these kids, to step forward with courage in this holiday season, and to have the courage to say, I'm going to do everything I can to help these dreamers. It's in the tradition, not only of the presidency, but certainly in the faith tradition that we know. Le estoy pidiendo al presidente que perdonen a estos muchachos que están aquí soñando una vida mejor. Él tiene el derecho de hacerlo, el poder de hacerlo debajo de la Constitución, pero también sabemos que en esta Navidad un ángel le vino y le dijo a los papás de Jesús que lo llevaran a Egipto. ¿Por qué? Para protegerlo. Y es lo que nosotros queremos que haga el presidente, que sea como ese ángel y que protege a estos muchachos, a estos niños que vinieron aquí que no tienen culpa. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much. Joaquin, you want to join us, please? Joaquin Castro from Texas. I'm going to try to go around the country.
Thank you, Luis, and it's an honor to stand here with all of my colleagues who are asking the president to pardon these dreamers under a few principles. First, that America should not punish anyone who has not done anything wrong. In this case, by subjecting these folks to deportation to nations that they have never known. These are folks who are from all over the world. Their parents brought them from different places in the world, but they have only known one country as their home country, and that's the United States of America. I would point out that on the issue of protecting dreamers generally, the country agrees with us. In survey after survey and poll after poll, Americans agree that these kids have done nothing wrong and should be protected. And I hope that the president will consider that. Members across the country are also holding DACA summits in their district to highlight this issue, most of all because of all the things that President Trump on January 20th could do. The executive action on DACA is the first thing, or one of the first things, that he could do away with. And we're going to make sure that we put up a fight, that we show the face of these dreamers for who they are, and that we remind the American people that these are folks who have done nothing wrong. And so in different cities, and I want to read out a few, and I think a few folks are here. In San Antonio, Texas, we're doing a summit on December 11th on a Sunday. I know that Pete Aguilar in San Bernardino, California is doing one. Michelle Lujan Grisham in New Mexico. Raul Grijalva. Ruben Gallego in Phoenix. And Tony Cardenas in California. And Eleanor Holmes Norton, among others, in D.C. And so I'm glad to stand with my colleagues, and I hope that the president will do the right thing.
Norma Torres from California, please.
Thank you so much. I'm also honored to be here with my colleagues and want to extend thank you to the press that is here, that is helping to deliver our message to the doorstep of our president. Thank you, Congressman Gutierrez, for bringing us together. I know what it's like to leave your home country as a child through no choice of your own. And I know that those kids have grown up here and are just as American as you and I. Despite of what their immigration status might be, this is their country and this is their home. I cannot stand by and allow their lives and their well-being to be put in jeopardy by this new administration. The dreamers are courageous young men and women who came forward and registered in the DACA program. And now they are more vulnerable than ever before. I call on our states, all 50 states, to stand up. Do not leave your small cities and counties to do the right thing by their constituencies, these dreamers that they are trying to protect. And I call on all 50 states to stand up and create their own program so that all 50 states become a place where they feel welcome, where they can be integrated, and where they can be a part of our bigger American dream. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go to Colorado, to Jared Paulus. He's always been a great champion.
I want to tell you about a friend and constituent of mine, Marco. He came to the United States in 1995 at the age of 3. He doesn't remember Mexico. I'm the father of a 5-year-old, and even my 5-year-old doesn't remember back when he was 3. Marco only knows his hometown in Colorado through elementary and middle school. He didn't even realize that his family was in any way different than those of his neighbors, that somehow their presence was hidden or secret. It wasn't until high school, until his friends started getting jobs and driver's licenses, that he realized that something was different. The gravity of his situation began to sink in. For the first time, he had to learn and understood that this word undocumented applied to him and his family. When Marco submitted a program in his high school to participate in the International Baccalaureate program, his mom reacted not with pride, but with fear. He didn't have a Social Security number. She was worried that would jeopardize his candidacy or tip off enforcement agencies about his presence. Luckily, as we protect kids in our public education system, that wasn't the case. He was able to participate in the IB program and graduated high school and went on to college. And Marco was a sophomore in college when President Obama announced DACA. He applied right away. While he was working as an intern, he was accepted. By senior year, he was actually elected student body president at his university and graduated in 2014 with a major in finance. And now he works full-time for a nonprofit in Denver. So in many ways, the life of Marco and so many other DACA recipients are just like every other American. But on November 8th, everything changed. In talking to Marco and other aspiring Americans about the outcome of the election, while many of us are disappointed for a variety of reasons, aspiring Americans and DACA recipients are fearful that the information that they've shared with the government could actually be used against them or their family members to deport them to a country that they don't even know. Going back to work, Marco described being overcome with emotion. Just like many of us were after this election. And my office has had the opportunity to work with countless aspiring Americans like Marco, hear their stories firsthand, work with them to help them through the DACA process. And I'm here to represent them, to help make sure that they don't have to live their lives in fear. The information that has been trusted to the government through President Obama's DACA program, the president can act to protect and ensure that it's not used against aspiring Americans or their families. That's why I'm proud today to join my Democratic colleagues and call on the President to do everything that we can to protect the aspiring Americans who place their trust in DACA. It's had a transformational impact on the lives of many American kids, allowing them to work legally, allowing them to rent apartments, to get driver's licenses. And we need to do everything that we can to allow them to contribute to our country and make our country greater. Thank you.
Congressman Raul Grijalva.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you to my colleagues that are here. I think the statements today have been said. What we're asking and demanding of the president is quite frankly that he not surrender these young people to the Trump administration so that he could try to keep his promise during the campaign of expulsion and banishment for over 700,000 students and young people in this country. That he not surrender the information for continued use by the Trump administration. Now, Trump has flirted with rationality once in a while during this transition period, but on the issue of immigration, on the issue of undocumented people, that red meat that he used throughout the campaign to propel his candidacy at the beginning continues to be prime. And all of us that are here today understand that ahead of us are going to be some significant struggles to protect and ensure that a sector of this great country of ours, it doesn't become the scapegoat for this administration. But right now, under his powers granted to him by the Constitution, President Obama has the opportunity to secure and protect these young people and secure and protect the information of them and their families. And we urge him to do so. Thank you.
Beto, get up here.
All right.
I'm happy to have you. Thanks for having me.
So I just got to start by saying that amid this anxiety and fear that's been generated by the commitment of the president-elect to terminate the executive order that allows more than 750,000 dreamers to pursue their dream and contribute to the American dream, it gives me some solace to be with these tremendous leaders here and many others in the House who are part of this effort to make sure that our country's laws and actions are consistent with our values. And that, of course, means that we give these dreamers every chance to succeed. Joaquin mentioned an incredibly important Dreamers Town Hall that he's going to be hosting in San Antonio. His example was the inspiration for one that we held in El Paso 2 weeks ago. More than 300 El Pasoans came out, most of them dreamers who shared their stories of being the straight A student, the soccer team captain, the city council president, who aspire to serve in the military, to be doctors, to be architects, to cure cancer. And then there was a guy who came forward and he said, I'm a dreamer, but I'm a B student, and I just want to play rock and roll in the garage. That's where I was when I was 20. So I connected with him, of course. But he was making the point that dreamers are just like everyone else. We've got the straight A students, we've got the B students, we've got those who are like my kids, your kids, those who are like us when we were their ages. They are America. And whether they were brought here at the age of 2 or at the age of 8, they came here because someone else brought them here for a better life. And their life is not only better for themselves, they're making our life in America better. Those dreamers over their lifetime will earn more than $4 trillion in taxable income. They will be those who define the future in a very positive way for this country. So it is incumbent upon the president-elect to honor what our current president has done in providing some protection and some certainty, but it's also incumbent upon the leadership in the House, and I want to bring Speaker Ryan into this conversation. If we were able to do our job, if the Speaker were to bring a bill forward to protect these dreamers or to move forward on comprehensive immigration reform, I am certain that it would pass, and it would pass with bipartisan support, and it would allow us to do the job that we're supposed to do, that we were sent here to do, that the American people expect us to do. And so I'm so proud to stand with these folks who are going to make sure that we give this every chance to succeed in this next Congress. And last thing I want to say, thank you for being here. It's so important that the dreamers in El Paso, in San Antonio, in Chicago, throughout this country know that we stand with them, that we're going to fight with them. We're not going to give up on them. We're going to make sure that they're successful in this country. Thanks, Luis, for having me here.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Beto. And Congressman Cicilline, come on up here.
Thank you. I want to thank Beto and Luis in particular for leading this effort, and all of my colleagues who are part of this really, really important effort. We're here because in just a few weeks, President-elect Donald Trump and his team will take office. A candidate who promised to round up and deport 11 million undocumented immigrants within 2 years, a person who has pledged to rescind the Deferred Action for Childhood Action program on day one of his presidency. This would be a disastrous betrayal of our values as Americans. Dreamers are young men and women who have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are here in this country contributing enormously. We've all had experiences and had the opportunity to meet and talk to dreamers who are making such incredible contributions in cities and towns all across America. They came here as small children to be part of a family effort to build a better life. They've done absolutely nothing wrong. They're our friends and our neighbors. They're important members of our community, and they don't deserve to be rounded up and kicked out of their own country. And that's why we're asking today that President Obama offer a full categorical pardon to the roughly 750,000 dreamers who have already come forward, paid their fees, and undergone background checks. Taking this action will offer these young people strong legal protections and allow them to remain here as contributing members of our great American society. I know that every one of us here today is prepared to do everything we can to fight President-elect Trump every step of the way if he tries to do even a fraction of what he's promised to do during the course of his campaign. But we don't have to wait for Donald Trump. President Obama can immediately offer full protections under the law to the 750,000 DACA registrants today. And I hope and pray that President Obama will do that. I think it will reflect our values as a great country. It will continue to ensure that these young people who are enriching our lives in so many ways continue to do that. And it will give meaning to all of the founding ideals of America. Thank you.
Last but not least, because we've had our fighting together in Nevada. Dina Titus, please come up. Come on.
Thank you very much. I represent Las Vegas, and I am very proud to be here with my Democratic colleagues and standing with the Dreamers all across the country, including the 12,000 in southern Nevada. That would be Astrid Silva. Many of you heard her speak at the Democratic Convention. Also, Brenda Romero, who was an intern in my office, president of the student body class at Nevada State, and now working on a law degree. They aren't rapists. They aren't murderers. They are just talented, energetic, patriotic young people trying to do the right thing. Ever since the election, my office has been deluged with phone calls of people who are very afraid. Am I going to be separated from my family? Am I going to be deported? Am I going to lose my job, my scholarship, our home? What's going to happen? And we don't know what to tell them. We heard the rhetoric during the campaign. We don't know what Donald Trump's going to do now. Is he going to send people back into the shadows? Is he going to deport 11 million people? Is he going to build that wall? We don't know what he will do. We do know he has nominated Sessions to be his attorney general, who has a long record of being opposed to comprehensive, rational immigration reform. We had in our district a meeting of the different service agencies who provide assistance to Dreamers and their families. We had Catholic Charities, the Latin Chamber, the Consuls of Mexico and El Salvador. We had Legal Aid, any organization like that that works with these young people, to talk about what will we tell them. Do we tell them, go ahead and fill out the form for DACA protection, renew your DACA application, keep your head down and hope you don't get a speeding ticket? The thing we concluded is the main thing we can tell them is no matter what happens, we are here to help and try to protect you. And that's the message that we've been putting out in Nevada, and that's the message that we're sending today to the nation, to our colleagues on the Republican side, and to the president. Stand with us so we can help these young Dreamers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dino. And my friend who stood with me all of this time, Grace Napolitano. Please, Grace. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
words.
you very much. I take a different tact. Everything's been said by my colleagues over protection of the Dreamers. But think about the anger, the fear, the mental health that they are fearing, the attempted suicides of the families, of the children, and how that affects our population. Excuse me. It is something that we have not even considered that is affecting my population. The status, we have learned, has become enormously critical for many of these students. They have become so fearful that it is affecting their lifestyle. They're afraid of every shadow. They're afraid that they won't go home and won't find their parents. They're afraid they'll get, like Dina said, a speeding ticket and get caught. That anger can sometimes turn into something else. We need the president to pardon these people. It is essential for this country. We rely on them. They have contributed to our economy because they are working and being very successful at it, and they are not criminals. So we need to have them protected, Mr. President. Please pardon them. Ensure that our country can count on them to continue providing for our society and be fruitful citizens in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to just say that we got over 60 members of Democrats in the House to sign the letter. We're going to continue to get more. We know the strength, and we thought it was important because when Zoe and Judy Chu and I and Lucille got together, the response from the White House was, well, we can't grant them a special, a special immigration status. We don't have that power. We understand that, Mr. President, that you don't have that power. That's not what we asked you to do. You know, you have pardoned hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and over 1,000 people convicted of drug offenses. And we want you to use that same pardon power for 725,000 plus young people who came forward because you asked them to come forward. You asked them to come forward. You said, here it is. Here's a pathway for you in America, for your future in America. Now come forward and sign up. Well, with that comes responsibilities, Mr. President, and you have the possibility, you have the ability to grant them a pardon for any immigration offense, so that when Donald Trump and his administration, and as you said, Dina, when Jeff Sessions, nobody more anti-immigrant than Jeff Sessions in the Senate, or I think maybe in the House, in the Congress of the United States, wants to come after them, you've pardoned them. So, any questions of the press?
Congressman, aren't you worried that a pardon of 750,000 people, which would be probably, I don't know my history here, but probably would be the largest in a number of people by the president, that the optics would be so shocking to many that this could have an opposite reaction, or maybe the reaction that you would not like to have from the Republican side or an incoming Trump administration? And if you could add a little bit in Spanish at the end.
Okay. I'm not. We have to do the right thing. We have to do the right thing. In this case, it's 750,000 people. The argument that too many people were being covered was the same argument that was made against Barack Obama when he initiated this process. They said, how can you do such a sweeping? And when he went and said it was 5 million, which then they went and sued to stop him when he expanded DACA, when he expanded to families, it was the same argument, right? It's still, look, this is only the beginning. So for those who think this is too many, we're here to protect millions and millions and millions more. This is the beginning. They signed up for the program. They gave their address, they gave their phone number, they gave their fingerprints, they went through a criminal background check. And you know what the government said? Clean as a whistle. Here's your work permit. Here's your driver, get a driver's license, here's your work permit, social security card, you're good. They got right with the law. Así que lo que yo les digo es, esto es solamente el principio. Nosotros estamos aquí para defender los millones de inmigrantes que están bajo el ataque de Donald Trump. Donald Trump no simplemente dice que va a deportar los soñadores, él dice que va a deportar sus padres, sus vecinos, sus tías, sus abuelos y sus familiares. Así que vamos a empezar con 750,000. Y si la gente cree que eso es demasiado, pues entonces esa gente nunca ha estado con nosotros. Porque nosotros no descansaremos hasta que no sean 11 millones de personas que puedan inscribirse con el gobierno y sentirse seguros en este país. Next question, please. Go ahead.
I have two, if that's okay. What would you say to people like Senator Durbin who say that you're focusing on the wrong thing? And then I was also wondering if you have any reaction to Donald Trump. He told Time that we're going to work something out on Dreamers. And he said that's going to make people happy and proud, but it's a very tough situation.
First of all, he's my friend, my colleague, and I respect him a great deal. And we have a difference of opinion. But in the end, he wants to keep them here as much as I do. And we're going to work together. So I don't see any contradiction between his opinion and the opinion of over 60 members of the House of Representatives. All of us are going to approach this through different avenues, and I know that Senator Durbin is fighting really, really hard. And I know what's in his heart, and he knows what's in my heart. And, you know, I kind of asked for a better, how would I say, colleague from the state of Illinois, and I'm going to continue working with him, number one. Number two, what did you say that Trump said again? What did he say?
I can read it for you if you want.
Yes, please, for all of us.
He said, I want Dreamers for our children also. We're going to work something out. On a humanitarian basis, it's a very tough situation. We're going to work something out that's going to make people happy and proud, but that's a very tough situation.
Well, you know, I guess I'm ready for him to put it on Twitter maybe, and then maybe we can believe it, since that seems to be where his real sentiments are. But let me give you my reaction. My reaction is, it's working. It's working. The fact that we are raising the The issue of the Dreamers is working. The pressure is beginning to reverberate in his own comments. Let's keep it up. Now is not the time to say, victory, let's all go home for Christmas. No, let's keep the pressure up. I understand that there are others that are going to see Donald Trump today, that are going to take petitions for the Dreamers. I understand the president has done it. I understand that we're doing it. But more than ever, I say to President Obama, he says he wants to work something out. Well, guess what? You work it out for him, okay? Because you're the president of the United States, and you asked them to join this program. You use your power of pardon and pardon them. Make it a little bit easier for Donald Trump to keep his promise, to do something that's nice and great for them. So my basic reaction is, it's working. You know what? Because Donald Trump works in that sphere of he doesn't want anybody to say anything negative about him, right? Because if you say anything negative, mira, para mí, esto demuestra el poder de nuestra comunidad, de nuestras denuncias. Porque Donald Trump solamente responde a presión. ¿Ustedes lo han visto? ¿Alguien dice algo negativo de él? Él responde. Él responde de dos maneras, negativa o positiva. Me alegro que está respondiendo positivamente, pero no podemos descansar. Last question.
If you don't get this pardon and the Durbin bill becomes the next best avenue, do you believe that there are enough Lindsey Graham type figures in the House, and do you believe that Paul Ryan may stand up to the White House on this and say, these are a group of people that we've invested in? Do you think that you have that type of support in the Republican Congress?
Look, we are reviewing all avenues of protecting the Dreamers. I am thankful to Senator Graham and to Senator Flake and to Senator Durbin, and there are many conversations going on among members of the House of Representatives, but I don't want to speak any more to it other than to tell you the conversations are taking place. We will use every avenue possible. When Senator Rubio had a proposal, as many of you remember, before the president issued his executive order, and they asked me, well, you know, the Democrats, you have a Rubio problem. He's moving forward. I said, we don't have a Rubio problem. We have a deportation problem. We still have a deportation problem. So anything that's a solution is a step in the right direction. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm going to see you in a little bit, right? You're coming back? Should we spread it from this?